Hello, everybody. This is Scott Woods. I'm coming to you live from the Bat Cave, somewhere in a secure location in the Midwest. Guys, let's look at my screen. What I'm about to show you about here is shipping to and from U.S. ports. You know, I get calls a lot, I get emailed a lot. I'd like to thank everybody that views our YouTube channel. We're the only real freight broker trainer in the U.S., and we like to show you guys how to profit in this job and build your business, whether you're a trucking company, a freight broker, or a freight dispatcher. Well, one of the most asked questions I get is, what and how do you do business with the ports? Well, you're going to see that I have a representation up on the screen here of the U.S. ports. Now, these are not all of the U.S. ports. These are the big ones. There are actually 99 U.S. ports and inland waterways. See, a U.S. port can also be on like the Mississippi River, you know, up in St. Louis or in Omaha, or not Omaha, but in St. Louis, or maybe the Missouri River in Omaha. Those are also ports because you have barge traffic on those things. Now, believe it or not, you know, due to the fact we are landlocked here in the U.S. and also even Canada, so if it gets there, it's going to have to get there on a truck or a train. Now, it might come from South Korea across the ocean. It might come from Italy across the ocean. It might come from Venezuela up into the port of Miami or Port of Everglades, etc. But eventually it's going to have to go on a truck. All right. Now, the type of equipment, and we're going to go over that in just a second, what you're going to need in working with this type of freight is going to be what's called drayage. They work with skeletal trailers which haul containers. See, that's the stuff that when it comes in, you're going to have freight that comes into the port, it comes off a ship, you know, it's going to be put in a container. And also the same thing when your customer might be transporting something to the port, eventually it's going to be broke down and put into a container. I move a lot of heavy equipment and I am constantly moving stuff. One of the busiest ports that I go to all the time, we'll go to the Port of Houston, you know, down there at Greenbrier Terminal. We'll go to the Port of Baltimore at what's called Dundalk Terminal, or the Port of Savannah. And that's where this heavy equipment's going down there. Maybe my customer might have sold it to somebody, you know, down in South America or over in West Africa, and it'll have to go on a ship. Well, they'll go down there. Once it gets to the port, it'll be cleaned, it'll be broken down, it'll be put in a container, and then shipped overseas. All right. Now, these ports that you're looking at, and I'm going to tell you the busiest ones: Long Beach, Port of Long Beach, Port of New Orleans, Port of Houston, Port of Savannah, Port of Baltimore. That's where you see your most actions. It's not that the other ones are not busy. These are just by far and away the busiest. How you're going to get this freight is either your customer is bringing stuff in that he is importing. For him to import it, he has to work with a freight forwarder and a customs broker. Those are known as NVOCCs, non-vessel operating common carriers, ships. All right. Those are the guys, they're going to complete the paperwork. That'll run it through the port. Customs will complete the paperwork, which they'll clear it through customs. And then a lot of the times, they're going to do what is called customer routing. Your customer will send his own truck in to pick it up from the port. Now, they don't always do that. A lot of times, they might even use their freight forwarder or customs broker to arrange the transportation for them and handle the logistics just to get it to him. Now, at that point in time, they're either going to contact your customer, or the freight forwarder is either going to contact, you know, you as a broker to move that and set up the movement, or he might just call a trucking company himself. Your job as a broker, of course, is to beat the trucking company to the punch and get out there and offer your services, you know, because these guys are on it, you know. You would contract a dray company, and in absence of a drayage company being available, you could always send in a regular flatbed to load these containers. These containers are 20 to 40 foot long, and they're going to weigh anywhere from 40 to 100,000 pounds. All right. Now, you see where these ports are at, and there's always freight forwarders and customs brokers around each and every port, and a lot of times they don't even have to be around the port. You could be a freight forwarder and be in Billings, Montana, but they might be shipping in and out a lot. It's just like being a freight broker, in the Philippines and brokering freight here in the United States. Now let's show you a representation of this equipment. Now I put together this little worksheet for you guys, so you could kind of see what's going on and see what type of equipment you're dealing with, because we want you to be thoroughly educated on how this stuff works. Now, I can't explain how to get this business and work it in a YouTube video that's going to last 7, 8, 10 minutes. You'll have to take our training course if you really want to know how to get it. But we just want to give you an idea how it's working and, kind of clue you in. Now, what you're looking at in front of you is a container, a representation of a container on a skeletal carrier. And all it is a flatbed without a bed. All right. These guys go into the port. They will take the container, they will load it on a carrier with a gantry crane. All right. Once your drayage companies go in and pick these things up, they're going to have all the paperwork that you will provide them with, of which you get from the freight forwarder or the customs broker. You'll have the dock receipt, you'll have when he can pick it up, and all that general information, and of course his loading orders and where he's going to deliver it to. It's your responsibility to get it to them. Now, your containers are anywhere from 20 to 40 foot long, and they could also be known as what's called high cube, which are taller than a typical container. Now, in the absence of a skeletal carrier, you can also use a standard flatbed. All right, with that. Now, one of the biggest things about moving in a port, other than finding a customer and other than getting your truck, and I'm going to save you some headaches here, you got to know how port freight works. You got to make sure that whatever trucking company you contract is going to have what's called a TWIC card. The driver has to have a TWIC card, a Transportation Workers Identification Credential. What this means is that driver has went up and been fingerprinted. They've did a background check, on him, and he'll carry this card on him. And when he goes into the port, he'll show his identification, and they'll scan it so he can enter the port unescorted. Now, there are what's known as port escorts. These guys will charge like a 2-hour minimum, all right, and they generally charge a couple $100 to actually take the driver's truck in and load or unload it for him, all right, and that I would make, especially if I'm a broker, I'm going to make that the truck's responsibility for paying him. I'm not going to do it. He has to arrange that. Although these port escorts are not available at every port. All right, so just to clear up headaches for myself, when I am setting up loads going in or out of a port, I'm going to make sure that all my drivers have TWIC cards. I'm going to make that a prerequisite. Now, last but not least, when you are entering a port, you are entering an international free trade zone. All right? Once you go in this port, once your truck unloads, you cannot get that freight back. Now, it is my general rule of thumb, and you follow whatever rules you want, but if I am doing business with a customer that I do not have a pre-existing long-standing relationship of him paying his bills, I'm going to make him pay me before we unload. Because once I unload that load, if he don't pay the bill, I can't put a lien on the freight. We're screwed, because it's an international free trade zone. You can't go back in there and get it. It's like its own private little world. So that's my own private little rule that I keep is I'm going to make the customer prepay me if I don't have a pre-existing relationship. Now, if he does have a relationship with me, he's got credit, that he's paying his bills a lot with me, of course, I'll drop it and go. But you guys kind of figure out and do what you want. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about how ports work and how delivering freight to a port works. Take a look at some of our courses. We're America's top freight broker trainer. Go to my website, www.freightbrokertrainer.com. Once again, that's www.freightbrokertrainer.com. Enroll in my next class. I'll have you making money quickly. I'll show you why I'm the best. I'm the Freight Broker Trainer. This is Scott Woods signing off. Enjoy our other videos on our YouTube channel. Have a good day.